Tide of Preparation. My name is Red Moon Eagle. This is Astra. She has joined us this morning. And it is Monday morning, 6:40 in the morning on December 4th, 2023. And I seem to know quite a few Sagittarius. It seems to be everybody's birthday this month. So hooray for Sagittarius. Or those Sagittarius born at the end of November. It is the tide of preparation from fall equinox to the winter solstice. It really helps the algorithm if you hit subscribe and the icon. I am posting earlier in the morning when I get up. I am deciding on a time to come on to Daily Devotional, and I am pre-scheduling those. So you should get, if you hit the little bell icon, you should get a notification of when I'm coming on. And I am coming on time, just so you know. And that seems to be helping. Helps me, helps you. Gives me a hot minute to kind of like put some things together, not feel rushed, not distracted. I'm sorry, Astra, I keep... Static electricity is kind of high today, isn't it? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I keep snapping her. I don't mean to. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to read a little bit out of Celtic Devotional for those that are still joining. Last week I read the evening ones, so I'm going to read the day ones this week. Yes. Wealth of the world whose bounty is never spent, I come in quietness to the treasury of silence. I give thanks to the nurture and blessing that you leave within my soul. O many gifted teacher of my soul, this is, as the winter world awakens, so I stretch out my hands for your companionship this day, that I may understand the questions of this day. I don the breastplate of wisdom, wisdom of star, courtesy of spirit, endurance of wind, strength of warrior, honor of maiden, poetry of lover, beauty of flower, nobility of animal, silence of earth, 9 wisdoms guarding my heart to this day without fear. Ancient enduring one, keeper of kindreds, I go forth as one of your family. I love that. Okay, yes, okay. So today's card is the owl. The owl, yes, it's the owl. Do you want to see? The owl card. Abundance, clairvoyant treasures. The owl is a mysterious and otherworldly creature found in folklore from east to west. The white owl in this particular deck is the companion of the goddess Lakshmi and represents wealth, beauty, and good fortune. When the owl card appears, it's an omen that a boon or treasure is on the way, either in spiritual or material form. With owl wisdom on your side, you see and know exactly what to do with this boon, how it can further serve your dharma and bring abundance to the world. Trust that the wellspring of treasure is infinite. When in balance, generous, trusting, and secure. When out of balance, money quarrels and scarcity. To bring into balance, an offering. Those of you that don't know, the white snowy owl is my primary totem helper. And so the white snowy owl for a long time just kind of randomly appeared in magazines and books. I would see a white snowy owl on advertising. It would pop up in videos. Oh, excuse me. And now I don't see it as much like randomly. Now it shows up more intentionally in my life. It's very interesting. Okay. So we're going to do the Medicine Heart card. I did order decks, so hopefully they'll be here before we run out of cards. Oh, this is a beautiful one. This is 19. This is Lou. Isn't that beautiful? I just love this card. The soul journey is a spiritual long game. Though there will be spontaneous spurts of swift progress and rapid healing, recovering and rising through any difficulties, you are also building a long-lasting legacy of sacred beauty. You are soul-making. Value the process and value yourself enough to set boundaries within yourself and others. Such a precious undertaking requires patience for the process, tending, and time. Contentment in the quality of the journey helps sustain and inspire you for the considerable task of generating your most sacred legacy. The Sinitic language, such as Mandarin and Cantonese, the character for deer, or lu, means abundance. In Chinese culture, deer represents good fortune and prosperity, happiness, and long life. Teachings of the deer sacrificing itself to the hunter appear in many stories, from Buddhism to Native American culture. This sacred act honors the needs of all beings. The deer is a symbol of profound generosity of the spirit and also of the Earth Mother, providing and supporting life, including human life. The appearance of deer calls forth the deep need for spiritual relationships, both in the natural world and the celestial realms. Deer reminds us that our human nature is divine, that earth is sacred and spirit is part of us. For humankind to awaken with wisdom, we need to honor and respect the spirituality of our body and our soulful humanness. The superficially disparate aspects of the human being, mind, heart, spirit, body, can be realized as connected and supportive of each other, neither dominating nor subverting the other, all legitimate, essential aspects of self-supporting our soul-making. I think the big thing that I love is that the owl in this particular animal spirit guide deck and Lou both talk about abundance. Abundance, 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 abundance. So what is abundance? In the owl, it talks about a boon or a treasure. Trusting in the wellspring of treasures is infinite from the owl perspective. And from Lou, this is soul making, valuing the process, valuing yourself. Lou meaning abundance, good fortune, prosperity, happiness, sacred honor, profound generosity of spirit and Earth Mother. So when I read this earlier, I decided I wanted to talk about abundance. And I love how they drew this. The woman with her hair and the animals and the horns coming out of her hair and the birds and the mandala flower behind her. Isn't that beautiful? I just love that. So I want to go back to abundance. So if you've just joined, we're about 10 minutes in, and I just read a little bit of Celtic Devotional, and I've read the card name stuff. Put a little question in the comments if you want to. I'm gonna be going back and reading these at another time, if you've commented after the live. So abundance. Abundance is a tricky word, I think, in the human manifestation, right? Because when you're growing up, going to school, abundance, at least in my generation, meant money, right? Abundance means money. But abundance doesn't mean money unless you're trapped in the touch it, feel it, taste it paradigm that is all that there is. And I grew up very blessed to know quite a few people that survived not just the tail end of World War I, but the Great Depression, World War II, the Korean conflict, the Vietnamese conflict. And this generation, they've experienced 9/11, they've experienced maybe Desert Storm, maybe, all of these conflicts. There are people that have been greatly influenced in South America from the 80s, and the United States being involved in many of the conflicts down in Central America and South America. So why do I talk about conflict, and then I'm going to talk about abundance? And the reason for that is there were individuals that I knew growing up that had survived these, what we think of as the Great World Wars. At least that's the way it's written about in our history books, right? At least in America. The Great World Wars. And the Great World Wars, there were people that came out of those events that were so traumatized and not given any kind of mental health support, and did not have necessarily family anchoring to help them with that support. And they ended up with so much trauma that you go into their houses after they've passed or when they're much older in life, and families are having to de-hoard these places. And why are they having to de-hoard? Everybody watches that show, Hoarding, but it's more endemic than that. It's more about how these people's trauma triggered their need to hold on to things, to find sustenance and understanding their world through safety of things. Because there's so much trauma that was buried and wasn't dealt with that they have defaulted to holding on to things to make themselves feel better. That's not always the case, but I have known of enough of those that there is a trend, right? The other thing that is often not talked about is abundance of spirit. And when I talk about abundance, I talk about it more in the sense of abundance of the richness of the people and the energy of the opportunities that I've had in my life. So not that I have a lot of money in the bank account, not that I have a lot of money in savings, or any at all even. Astra, are you going to come over here? I'm not going to play right now, sweetie. She's nibbling on my arm. Lick, lick. Okay. When I'm done with this, we'll play, okay? When I'm done with this, we'll play. I think this is actually a very good example of abundance. Astra is abundantly full of play. I always feel such joy that she wants to play and that she feels safe enough to play. And she does. She uses her teeth, and she doesn't actually bite me at all. It's more like a nibble. But that's a form of abundance. I have this rich relationship with Astra that we can play, and she doesn't hurt me. She wants to share with me her moment of play, and it's a beautiful thing. Abundance comes in the rich connections you have with the people that you love and you care about in your life. Abundance comes from having a walk with a friend that neither one of you can afford to go to tea. So you go for a 2-mile walk and you leisurely enjoy the abundance of nature and the connection to the elements, and you have the abundant opportunity to do that with your time and your life. You are not fettered by the restrictions of expectation, other than those moments to share. I think of the day that I went to tea with another friend, and we each had one tea. It was kind of at a foofy tea place. It was kind of expensive. And I was able to purchase a tea for her And I felt good to be able to do that abundantly because somebody had given me a tip from one of my sessions, so I was able to turn that into abundance to share with someone else. And we sat for 5 hours in this tea shop and nobody bothered us. It was as though the universe said, yes, it's 100% okay for you to take up time and space. It's not like the tea house was overly busy. It's not like we were taking up a table that other people could use. There's plenty of tables and flow available. So I had time, I had space, I had energy, I had abundant opportunity to nurture that experience with someone. Recently I had, there was somebody who was really, really needing a lot of help, and I fed them dinner. I had, previous to that, another tip from a session, and that session tip went into being able to provide a meal for someone. And it was not just the meal, it was the generosity of the time and the space. I had time and energy that day to welcome them into my home. My husband had time and energy to have them in our home. Astra was so welcoming to them in our home that day. You know, like, abundance is the knowledge of what you have in all of your buckets, mind, body, spirit, this wholeness of you existing in this realm, in this time and space, and having the knowledge of what that abundance is and sharing that, knowing that when you share that equitably and with reciprocity, that abundance returns to you. So that, say something happens and you have a flat tire, you can call somebody, or you have a tight month financially and you can't go out and do things with friends or you can't afford to go out and do expensive things with your friends, you can still go out with your friends. Your friends will find a way to do things with you because there's reciprocity. There's give and take and abundant acknowledgement of the abundance of spirit and mind and energy. One of the things I do in my practice that is probably a little different from a lot of psychic catalysts or psychics in general, is that once you're a client, once you've established yourself as a client and you do your download and you are part of that client list, you have availability to share text messages. You can message me, and I answer 2 or 3 questions between sessions, and if they become too long, I just tell you, okay, this is time for a session. And it's because I understand that most of the time, it's very rarely that I have to cut someone off. I have to say, okay, you're abusing the privilege of this reciprocity. I understand that my clients are in a place where they need that extra support. They need the connection to do their work. And if I'm nickel and diming every 10 minutes of my time, that's not doing the work. That's not honoring the reciprocity of the soul and the spirit that is sharing this space and time with me. So I share the opportunity, and so far I can only think of one instance, well, 2 instances where I had to really okay, you've now kind of gone past honoring the intention of this offering. and that person self-corrected. I didn't have to be mean about it. I just said that, basically, this is gone beyond the scope of what I'd intended for this. And my clients know that if I don't answer, it's not because I'm ignoring them. It's because I am busy doing other things, and my abundance is not as abundant in that moment, right? Like, I don't maybe have the capacity in that moment to answer texts right away. I don't. I'm notorious for that anyway. So it's not like if you get a text right away, it's just because I happen to have the space and time in that moment to do it. 99% of the time, you text me, and it could be 2 days before I reply. Not because I'm ignoring anyone, but because I don't live my life connected to my phone. But when I do, I give people my 100% undivided attention in that moment. And I take moments to think about how I reply, and I share. And when it's a crisis, and it's important that the universe let me know it's a crisis, the universe creates the abundant moment in time for me to be able to address that. And abundance isn't necessarily things. I'm sitting in my living room and I'm surrounded by things. And abundance says you have lots of things. Well, I do have lots of things, but these things aren't going to have abundant meaning for anyone else. For example, this is an old jewelry cabinet, and I got it for, oh God, I think it was like $15 on Facebook Place, and it's got all my embroidery stuff in it. All my embroidery stuff that I need to sit here by the window and do embroidery. It has purpose, it has meaning. Abundance isn't necessarily a lot of money. Yes, I need to have money to pay my bills, 100%. That's why I have a business. We all know how this works. I pay money to you for a thing, you pay money to me for a thing, and we all prosper. But the other side of that is recognizing the abundance and the layering in the universe of what abundance is. The abundance that you're really looking for, that most people are really looking for, is the abundance of spirit and connection to each other. And when you have reciprocity within that abundant relationship, everyone benefits. Everyone benefits financially, everyone benefits spiritually, everyone benefits body, mind, spirit. There's such a thing as a food desert, and we actually have that here in Belgrade. It's awful. It's actually not too bad here in Belgrade where we're at, because we can walk to 2 grocery stores. But on the other side of the highway, the other side of Belgrade, it's more of a food desert. You've got a couple fast food places, but no grocery stores. And so fast food is not real food. It's food like substance. And having access to real good food is important. And we have a Dollar General right down the street from us, which I have totally shopped there. But it's not real food. There's nothing in that store that's real food. It's all food like substance and stuff. So when looking at abundance, let's reframe, let's rewire the idea of what abundance is. Does anybody have any ideas on that? Those of you that are on the call, anybody have any questions? I think the call to action today is reframe how you look at abundance. Doesn't seem like anybody has any questions. So, again, daily devotions, I am planning on every day. Take a little time at the end of the calls. If I have questions from the day before, so if you're watching this today and you have questions or you have anything you want me to address, type it in a comment, and I will look at that before I come on to Daily Devotional tomorrow, so I can have pre-questions. If you join us live and you want to ask questions or hit likes or whatever, those things help the algorithm. Joining me helps the algorithm. Watching these afterwards, sharing them with friends, they all help the algorithm. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and I will see you in prayer tomorrow. Astra's tail. I think she really wants to play, so I think I'm going to go play with her. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Blessed be, and I'll see you in prayer tomorrow.